Welcome, strangers, to Dogtown, where we get together and we watch documentaries and then we smash them. Smash, smash, smash.
Jesus Christ. Hey, right over here. It's our three heroes. You guys mind if we talk to you? Do you mind?
Well, what do you want to talk about?
Well, tell me what happened today.
Well, straight out Omaha, skateboarding, surfing it up. Before I say anything, I would like to say, no matter what ever you done, you deserve respect. Even if you make mistakes, you're lovable. It doesn't matter your looks, your skill, your age, or your size, or anything. You are worthwhile.
Now this stuff right here, we were in the passenger side of this fucker's car, and the guy driving the car tells us, I'm Jesus Christ, and I can do anything I want to. And he says, watch this, and bam! He smashed into this guy right there.
So we get out, and these two women are trying to help us, and he runs up, and he grabs onto them, man, like a guy that big can snap a woman's neck like a pencil stick. So we fucking ran up behind him with the hatchet. Smash, smash, smash!
All right. Well, this is Coco O'Hearn reporting live with TALK News in Omaha. Back to you, Jeff. Thanks, Coco. Welcome, listeners, to episode 28 of Talkumentary.
Do we take the intros too far sometimes? Yes. Do I love it? Yes.
Yeah, it's the
it's
best.
so great.
Yeah.
It's become my favorite part of the show.
It's
most of the time.
so fun.
My name is Jeff, and I am the host. I'm here with the real heroes themselves, who have not yet started their downward spiral into madness and are still riding high on their fame. Mr. King James, what's up, dude?
What's up? How y'all doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Hi, James.
Everything is pretty rad.
Good golly, Miss Molly.
Hey-oh, it's
Welcome.
Mo Money straight out of Dogtown.
Maddie Boombalatti.
Hello.
What's up?
Hey.
Now, true believers, you can't have a show about documentaries without peering into the creepy world of true crime. Am I right? Would you guys agree?
I agree.
100%.
We've covered a couple true crime documentaries in our time doing documentaries so far. You know, we did the Central Park 5. The Act of Killing could be considered a true crime doc, but I think this one is a little bit special because the story of the unlikely hero that you kind of want to love and then sort of become, you know, it turns out he has a dark side. It tells a pretty compelling story with wide range of emotions, I would say. This one is kind of unlike anything we've covered so far. We, of course, are talking about the 1 hour and 25-minute documentary from 2023 titled The Hatchet Wielding Hitchhiker.
Have you heard about Kai, the hitchhiking hatchet hero?
This dude went from this heroic, beautiful person to wanted for murder.
An absolute bizarre scene here in West Fresno. A man plows his car into a PG&E worker, pinning him against his truck.
Two women are trying to help him. He runs up and he grabs one of them, man. So I ran up behind him with a hatchet. Smash, smash, smash.
Everyone around the world wanted a piece of this kid.
How do you know this guy?
The internet, man.
Is that really you? How did it make you feel, though, being this viral sensation?
I'm not a virus. I'm a sensation. I'm Kai.
Most people that are heroes are not homeless people. There was something funny about him and kind of cute and sweet and innocent.
He has such an endearing quality. There's so much charisma.
Before I say anything else, I want to say no matter what you've done, you deserve respect. Even if you make mistakes, you're worthwhile.
If you're going to glorify someone, you better know who you're glorifying.
Kai, the Hatchet Wielding Hitchhiker, he's been arrested for allegedly taking the life of a man in New Jersey.
There was no forced entry, but under the computer is a phone number with the name Lawrence Kai. Maybe just stop and think, could he be responsible for something like this?
Part of me wondered what actually happened that day in Fresno. Was this him being the hero or not?
Smash!
Hitting somebody in the head with a hatchet 3 times, blunt side or not, is violent.
Smash!
When it comes to a certain situation of pressure, you either become a diamond or you get crushed.
Smash!
This doc tells the true story of Caleb McGilvery, aka Kai, an unhoused nomad who, after saving a woman from a violent attack, became an overnight celebrity sought after by reality TV producers, talk show hosts, and adoring fans alike. That is until a brutal murder turned his fame into an unpleasant notoriety and a lifetime in prison. This was directed and written by Colette Camden, produced by Adam Hawkins and Alexander Marengo. This was a raw production, distributed and streamed on Netflix. The Hatchet Wielding Hitchhiker has an interesting rating on Rotten Tomatoes, I thought. The 92% tomato meter, so that's pretty high, but it's not certified fresh because it has an audience score of only 43.
What?
Yeah, so...
Is that because it's new?
Well, I don't know. So I was going to ask why you guys think that is. Why did critics like this better than the audience? Thoughts?
My thoughts is because the dude was viral for a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it was not a good thing.
But why would a critic like that better than the audience?
That's,
yeah.
Cue the cricket sounds, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Thoughts? I don't know. I loved it. And I didn't even know about...
I didn't either.
I had no idea that it was a viral sensation or anything.
Me neither.
Before my friend suggested it to me, and I was like, "Oh, like, sounds fun!" Like, I mean, the title itself.
To me, a critic looking at the viral part of this, and then the range of emotions experienced in the documentary. That has to be why there was a good, calling from them.
Maybe the audience thought it was just BS,
Maybe. I read a couple reviews that were directly linked on Rotten Tomatoes. One of the not so good reviews said it was shamelessly exploitative. The shock value is derived from the actions of a person with mental illness. Person after person commenting on what they can get out of this guy, and not one person is interested to know his story or concerned for his well-being. One lady was stupid enough to claim that he's an example of how you can be happy and homeless.
That made me so mad.
Yeah. Netflix should be ashamed for producing this dribble. Netflix is nothing more than a modern day Barnum and Bailey circus. Everyone come see the crazy person and be shocked. So there's one person's take on it. But then a critic review that gave it a pretty, high ranking said, it is extremely disturbing when illustrating the way in which naively and fanatically the public, eager for heroic figures, easily deifies someone without further inquiring into their life. So I think maybe the people that didn't like this documentary maybe didn't like it because of the story
because
and
of
how
the morality
the morality
to it.
side of it. But the people who liked it because it showcased that kind of interesting dichotomy in the world and how we glorify things like that. I don't know.
We can.
Right. Anyway, so the credits and all that will be in the show notes. Let's get into this. We've already kind of started getting into it, so that's good. Spoiler alert, if you want to go see what happens, I've already kind of told you what happens, but, go watch it, come back and join us. Before we go any further, let's talk about why we chose to watch The Hatchet Wielding Hitchhiker this week. Our dealer was Miss Molly. Molly, tell us why you chose this doc.
Well, like I kind of already said, I was suggested this by a friend, and then I just kind of looked at it on Netflix and was like, what a name, what a title. I think I was too young to get this sense of viral sensation because I think they said it was 2012, 2013. And so I had no idea that it was like a meme or the father of all memes in the first place. Truly, the title was clickbait enough for me to say, Jeff, let's do this for documentary. So
that is fair. Had anybody in the room seen this before we did it for our show? No. This was my first time as well. And I'm with you, Molly. I actually had never even heard of Kai or seen any of these videos or anything. There was all kinds of like remixes where they were doing like they made like songs out of his smash, smash, and all that. Matt, I think you had said you had seen some of his videos before.
I had, yeah, and that's kind of what was surprising to me because I had seen the memes and the story behind how he became famous, but like up until then, I hadn't heard anything else about it.
Yeah. James, this new to you?
All new. I thought it would be something funny or something,
There was some humor in it.
It was some humor, but it was like after you get through the middle of it, it's like, is this a cycle or what's this do about? Because the first thing, not to jump the gun, but like I said, when you hit him in the head, how can you just do that and be okay with it?
Right. And be that chill about it.
Yeah, I just hit him in the head. Next.
Yeah. So is it pretty fair to say that none of our predictions about what this was going to be were...
Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
I was not expecting it at all.
I had the general idea of it being like a viral video sensation, and then things started going wrong, and I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, so listeners, we get a text from Molly earlier this week saying, as she's watching, we'll text each other sometimes while we're watching a documentary just to, comment about it. And she says, I want Kai to be my friend. This guy is awesome. And we're all just kind of waiting
And then I didn't get a response, and then 30 minutes later I texted again and was like, I take it back.
Never mind. I don't know.
And then everybody responded and was like, yeah, I don't think you do.
I don't think you really want that.
My bad. Jumped the gun.
Yeah, that's perfect though. That makes for a good twist in a documentary, especially if you don't know the story. When I read The Hatchet Wielding Hitchhiker, not knowing about that, I assumed that this guy was a villain.
Yeah.
So the surprise to me
was the front.
was the front side of it. Yeah, that he was a hero first. That video that we watched earlier, the initial interview with Kai, that aired on February 6th, 2013. So I was just a year out of the Navy. I don't remember this hitting at all. I mean, I was into the internet and I was, but maybe I was too concerned with getting out of the Navy and becoming a real person again.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I don't remember any of this. So to me, I didn't know that he was a flash in the pan overnight sensation kind of deal. So I didn't know. Anyway, we're going to get into some of the details about what we watched, but here is a quick synopsis. The Hatchet Wielding Hitchhiker is a true crime documentary that follows the story of Caleb Kai Lawrence McGilvery. Yeah, he went by a lot of different things. He was a homeless nomad who became internet famous after defending a woman by smashing her attacker in the head with a hatchet. And the resulting news interview, Kai had portrayed sort of a free-spirited, accepting, and no-strings-attached demeanor that the internet found enviable, I think, and a little endearing. Kai's immediate rise to celebrity status resulted in a wave of fandom and opportunities for Kai, but the story turns very dark when 73-year-old Joe Galfie is brutally murdered, and the main suspect is none other than Kai, the hatchet-wielding hitchhiker. The documentary uses interviews with news personalities, law enforcement, television crew members, and Kai's family to dig into his life before, during, and after his skyrocket to fame and his subsequent conviction of murder in the first degree. What, in general, did you guys think of this documentary? James, did you like it? Did you watch it? Let me ask.
I watched the documentary, but I was one of the ones that watched this before I got here.
I know.
And I really, it was fun at the beginning, and as I looked at it, there's something wrong with this dude, but I never thought he would kill somebody,
Yeah.
And then you think about it, all the little clips, he's in everybody's house, he's at everybody's places. Many places where everybody, he could have hurt anyone.
Yeah.
Just need somebody to just tip him off.
Yep. Matt, what did you think of this doc?
I mean, I thought it was a good documentary. You look at what Kai went through in the beginning, and you can't help but feel like he was a hero, and then let down very shortly thereafter. And so, listen to the claims that he made about his family. That was shocking as well. So.
Yeah, and I do want to get into that a little bit. Molly, overall, you thought this was a good one?
Overall, I really liked it.
You're kind of a true crime nut, am I wrong?
I am 100% a true crime nut.
Yeah.
I am the stereotypical white woman obsessed with true crime. I admit to it.
If you relax at night by watching true crime and brutal murders, there's something wrong
I did
with you.
listen to a true crime podcast literally on my way over here. So
yep. Well, here's another one for our listeners.
Yeah. So this one, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it's hard not to love him in the first half, as you got from my text.
Yep.
And then back half was like the twist that I needed from someone, like for someone who likes thrillers and like suspense movies. It had that twist. It had the suspense, and then it had this like awe factor where it was like my jaw was just like on the floor because I was like, what is happening? Then they brought in like family members, and I was like, oh my God. So this for me was like exactly what I like in a documentary where it was just nonstop action, and it was like it's a human intrigue as well, because like to watch someone who acts so differently from you in multiple and in multiple ways, where like the free-spirited type and then also the murderous type, like that is such a compelling person to watch. So this was right up my alley, and I really enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, and he's a very sympathetic character as well, because as we'll get into, you start getting into some of his past and what sort of life was he I mean, he's making, and we'll get into this, but he's making accusations about being locked in his house that his mom didn't deny, and she rubbed me the wrong way. And, so, to me, I agree that when you've got a sympathetic character who does something horrific, you're sort of left going, yeah, he doesn't deserve to just be running around free to do whatever he wants. But there's also the side, you're not necessarily dealing with some of the serial killers and people out there that are just this deranged lunatic that, gets off on doing this. Did he maybe get off? I don't know what what happened in that room with Kai and Joe, but I know that it ended really badly for Mr. Galfi. And, so it adds another level of storytelling into into this. So
it's like you can't look away from it. It's like a car accident when you're like rubbernecking out your window.
Yeah, and I tried something a little different with this documentary as we start getting into some of our standout moments. But this was the first time that I did not take notes while I was watching the documentary, but rather I sat down immediately after and started typing out my notes. It was kind of nice. This is our 28th episode.
Something
and
like
this is the first time that I wasn't sitting there clicking away on my keyboard while I was watching. So it was kind of nice just being able to watch a documentary without trying to take down all the info as it goes.
What a good one to do it with too, because this one's so captivating.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that because of that, I didn't forget anything that I wanted to talk about, but I do think it was more of an enjoyable watch for me because I didn't have to focus on making sure I got all the information.
Doing your homework.
So make sure if I get if I miss something, make sure you guys pipe in and tell me, remind me, something like that.
Yell at you?
Yeah, yell. Don't yell. GJ won't like that.
Aggressively talk.
Yeah, cover the microphone and scream.
Don't tempt me.
Molly.
Jeff.
Talk about your standout moment. What's the first thing that came to your mind when you want to talk about this? Talk about
documentary. My standout moment was when his mom walked into the interview. We had just gotten through listening to Kai talk about his horrific childhood and being locked in a room and not being fed and those kind of things. And they brought cousin out who said that they grew up together. There was photos of like them at like theme parks and everything like that. Yeah. And so you start to waver and you're like, well, you can see him smiling in these photos, obviously. And then mom comes in and says basically, well, I didn't lock him in his room, but I didn't not lock him in his room.
Right.
He said, he has erratic behavior that needed to be controlled. So like I made sure that he was in an environment where he couldn't get out and like where I could control it. And I'm like, okay, so you locked him in a room. Like you're all but saying that. So I think just watching family members pop up on the screen, I was like, oh my God, they really dug into this guy in that way and got you know, the background of it, and her talking about writing him while he was in jail and everything. I think just listening to her talk about her perspective on how he was raised was like kind of mind-boggling.
Right.
Because you can see that there was some issues there that she's not owning up to.
Agreed.
And how much of that is completely 100% accurate to what Kai's saying, only the two of them know.
Right.
But like there's obviously something wrong.
Yeah, like they both minimized it, you know.
Well, yeah.
She just didn't, you know, whatever. And he's like, whatever, too. It happened, then popped with something else.
Yeah, because his mind's all over the place where he's like, she locked me in a room and then also smash. Like it was just like bouncing around.
To him, it was a prison. To her, it was just containment.
Right.
But, you know, to me, it sure didn't seem like his mom was a very endearing person at all, which you don't have to be an endearing person to be a mother, but I had a hard time believing much of what she said. The way she presented herself on camera, you know, Kai stated that he was raised in like a Christian cult, you know, that he was locked in a cage as a kid, and he claimed several times that he was sexually assaulted in his life. They even mentioned in the documentary, if any of his backstory is true, any percentage of it, this is rough. That's a rough upbringing.
Yeah.
And, you know, so to me, this sort of free-spirited or, you know, kind of home free or carefree mentality that he's portraying, you know, to me, that screams pain.
It screams coping mechanism for sure.
Yeah, it screams neglect, you know, possible mental issues that have never been dealt with.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, and I know, James, you mentioned, you know, this is someone who maybe didn't get the psychological help that he should have got a long time ago.
That's pretty clear.
You know, but is there... So if we rewind, if we don't know all of his story and we see Kai pop up on a news interview, is there something enviable about the way he portrays himself?
100%. And I think that's why that news reporter said like happy and homeless, is because he does give off the energy and the idea that he is happy with how he's living.
Right.
And happy and homeless is a weird way to put it. But he does, you know, kind of portray that, especially with his wanting to give to people who look like they have less than him and like turning around and giving things away
For a lot of people with mental illnesses, it's hard for them to function properly in society. So it's a lot easier for them to live in a more carefree, free-spirited lifestyle.
Right. And when... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that's kind of what sets him apart from other people, I would say.
Yeah, you have to like commit to a persona so that you can make it through life. And
right. And when your life has caused you so much pain that you are not like that you don't know how to handle it, whether it's because of a mental disability or something like that, or just the amount of trauma that you've been through, regardless of the reality of it, the way that you perceive it, you're going to come up with ways of coping where somebody might, you know, I don't know, go to the gym all the time to try to cope with something. He decided, I'm going to burn my social security card. I'm going to shred my ID. I'm going to have no home. I'm just going to move around and be whoever and whatever I want to be. You know, that to me, you know, okay, so DJ and I, we've got this friend, and he might be listening right now. And if you're listening right now,
Hi.
I'm not going to say your name. Don't worry. But he, you know, spent a lot of his life as, you know, somewhat transient a little bit, you know, never wanting to
settle down,
to really dig in his heels somewhere or anything. His identity sort of being wrapped around not having much, as being like the norm, not following the norm, I guess, being, you know, a little weird, a little mysterious. But all of that comes from a huge place or a huge amount of pain. And, you create your own character. And a lot of us create who we are based off of, I think, the comforts we have and the support system we have around us. Unfortunately, a lot of times, people who are in that kind of pain, they look for ways to numb that pain. And that is, we saw with Kai and with my friend as well, alcohol has played a huge part in their life in succumbing to violence, and, lashing out in those sort of ways is a extremely sad coping mechanism. And not to sympathize too hard with somebody that did something horrendous, but to try to give some understanding to why you might get to that point, and hopefully encourage and inspire other people that, to get help if they're struggling with things, and that it's okay to get that help and to reach out and to let the people around, we don't know. His mom, to me, that just screamed like, you're not a good mom. I hate to make that assumption, but I'm just going off of my, James, you like to say that you're a good judge of character. When his mom popped up, what did you feel?
I felt like she really just wanted to be on TV. Okay. That's what I thought. She just wanted to be there because what she said really didn't matter. Didn't make any sense. I did lock him up, but why?
Right.
For some trumped up reason because he's a little wild. Who does that?
Yeah.
And almost blaming it on ADHD is just it's a dangerous narrative to create, because not everybody with ADHD is going to end up being homeless, traveling with a hatchet,
right,
or murdering someone.
Right.
And then who's to say she didn't have issues with her marriage being broken up, and just taking it out on the child itself?
Yeah,
because it seemed like he was in a arrested development stage, if I may be wrong, but he's still living that same age.
Yeah,
yeah,
and not getting past there.
Yeah, and I really think that his unwillingness to settle in, like we had talked about, it just shows so much. I don't know.
He probably doesn't want to feel like he's caged up or like locked somewhere or being controlled.
What do you do when you feel like you're in a cage?
Run away.
You lash out.
You get out of it, and you make sure like hell that you're not going to be back in a cage.
Also, something about his mom's willingness to come onto the documentary and talk about those things also icks me out, because if I was being accused of treating my child that way, I don't think I would want to be on television. I think I'd want to either repair the relationship or, you know what I mean? Like, there's other avenues, and it feels like kind of narcissistic to me.
As a parent?
Yeah.
As a parent of two teenagers, if one of my kids killed somebody, I sure as hell would want to defend my parenting. If that were to come into question, because
so you're feeling a little bit differently than what you, but
just looking at the way she was talking, talking about the situation, it's pretty clear that she's not saying the whole truth,
the full truth. Yeah,
I thought so too. Yeah.
But I think for her appearance there, I think it's more for her as opposed to
for him
making
or for
it
the name that she got just doing that. I think, like you said, if it was me, you would have to argue no, I didn't do that. No, it was nothing like that. But to flat out admit it without any type of emotional feelings, no sadness, looking at her, she was looking straight forward. I'm on TV. I still think it's I'm on TV type thing.
And there didn't really feel like remorse behind what she was talking about, because she did admit to trying to keep him contained because he was crazy and a crazy child and whatever. And there's one thing about if you put your kid in timeout or something, or if they're hurting themselves, like restraining them if you have to, if they're a danger to themselves or others. But she had no remorse in being like, I had to do what I had to do for my son. I knew he would hurt himself or others or anything. It was just, he had ADHD and he was crazy.
Well, and you got to think about it this way too. Yeah, mental illness. You got to think how long ago that stuff was taboo.
True.
And
Very true.
you know, the generations before, not a lot of people seen it that way. You know, so it's definitely a different culture now.
Right. Yeah. The whole thing though about her story though is that the cousin, what was his problem? She tried to lock him up also.
I know that.
You know, so what kind of mental problem did he have? You know, come on now.
Right.
And tell the truth.
I think you're right. Now that you mentioned the cousin, the cousin was an interesting addition here because he was pretty close to Kai. And to me, his reaction, he was like kind of teary-eyed, sort of talking, and I'm not putting everything on someone's immediate reaction because some people respond to you know, sad news and all that stuff differently.
Right.
So I'm not trying to read too much into that, but his responses felt so much more genuine to me, going, I couldn't believe it. Like, this is Kai. I miss Kai. Kai has been, you know, we've been so close. And to hear him say on this interview that he has no family, that hurts because I've been his family.
Right.
You know, I was his family, you know, and his mom didn't give any of that. His mom was just like, well, he's claiming that I did this and I didn't do it like that. That wasn't what, you know, that's not really that, you know, to me, that feels like bullshit. And for the cousin to say, she tried to put me in that room. I wanted more on that story.
Same.
First of all, how did you get away from that?
Get us a second interview with the cousin.
That's my thing too. How did you get out of that?
I need a follow up.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and to me, it makes it's not surprising at all if he's coming from that kind of a household. It's not surprising at all to me that he went, I'm getting the fuck away. I want to burn every bridge that I have, even though he probably at one time, you know, loved his cousin or whoever else was around. You know, to him, it was worth burning that bridge to get away from the trauma that he'd been through. If he really was assaulted in the ways that he says he was, you know, if he really was, you know, punished in the ways that he says he was, you know, I wish that he had gone and gotten some help and done, you know, things a little differently, of course, but it doesn't surprise me that he became, you know, a little bit nomadic and
unhinged.
Yeah. And then,
in a way.
and also went completely the opposite to try to, it felt to me like he's the kind of guy that has done some real work on himself to try to figure out, how do I maintain a positive mental attitude when I've gone through this shit? Because the first thing he said to the interview is he looked directly into the camera. First of all, most of the time, I don't know if any of you have done interviews on cameras on a news station or anything. It's very difficult as a human being to want to look directly into the lens of a camera. You want to look at the reporter because you're used to having, unless you've had the training that I need to look into the camera and I've had that, that's a difficult thing to do. If you go back and watch Kai's interview, when he says, what James was saying at the top, that, you know,
no matter
what you've been through, you deserve respect, whatever your size, whatever your, you know, whatever your background. I don't remember all the words,
but worthwhile.
You're worthwhile. Go back and watch that. He's looking directly into the lens of the camera.
And he means it. And you can tell he means it.
Even when he sung his songs, he always looked straight into the camera.
Right.
Yeah.
I noticed that. I'm like, how did he just look right at the camera, you know?
Right. And so that to me looks like somebody who's done some work.
I think, it's like a compensation for the lack of love that he had by showing unending love to everybody and spreading it. And
if I'm handed $500, I'm going to hand it to the security guard who I just pissed off.
Yes.
Or pissed off.
Sorry for pissing on the.
Right. Yeah. You know, so with all that being said, you know, this guy did something horrible and he should not, that's an unforgivable thing. But I mean, anything before the but doesn't matter, because to me, that was you can really follow the lines backward in his life to determine sort of, okay, so the murder part, maybe not so much,
right?
But the reason he was the type of person he was, clinging to that positivity and to that nomadic lifestyle, and not, you know, he's saying, I don't have a last name. I don't have anything. And he was happy about that.
Right.
You know, he was like, this is not, you know, and that so many times did this remind me of my friend that I was talking about, because him just sort of laughing and going, Yeah, I'm not from anywhere. I'm not.
Yeah, him
I'm not
saying, I don't have one. I don't have anything.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway,
I want to talk about one thing.
Please do.
About this. So, right when he started to become famous, and these places started reaching out to him, he was part of a band. And do you remember the guy that they were interviewing in the van?
Yes.
That was part of the band. He had alluded to people that there was more to the story about how how Kai had hit them, or the guy in the car,
yes,
in the head with the hatchet.
Yes, and then the
like he was drugged, like he didn't know that. Yeah, he was.
Right.
His drugs were laced, and so
Yep.
There's so many different
which it
crazy
totally makes
elements
sense.
of it.
That would make
It
sense.
totally makes sense
But
because somebody that claimed they're Jesus Christ and then they run their car
Right.
into
See,
somebody. That's not somebody that's smoking pot, and that's not somebody that's drinking. That's somebody that's tripping on something that doesn't.
Some of the stories
doesn't belong.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, but some of the stories seem to be not half truths. Like at the end of the whole documentary, the guy that hit the other person. He got 9 years.
Yeah.
And the mental, they checked his blood. It wasn't laced with anything. It was just straight marijuana.
Anything that they were looking for.
What they were looking for, right. But, I think that Kai himself, everybody can tell he has problems. Should have got this, not this maybe same sentence, but some type of mental health thing too,
Well, and that leads to the whole conversation of, mental health help versus incarceration. I mean, that's a conversation we could go all night.
That's another documentary or two,
right? Or 15,
or a whole podcast,
right? Getting people the help they need and not just locking them up. Paying for your crimes versus amending yourself for the reasons that the crimes happened. Those are two hot topics. And to kind of go into what you were saying, Matt, I got the feeling, and I'm kind of interested in your guys' thoughts. This would be purely speculation, I guess, but do you think that maybe he had a bit of a vigilante mindset that he was sort of looking for? Because, okay, so the scenario that Matt talked about where, perhaps he laced McBride's joint in that car, that added to, Kai's culpability in the original smash scenario. Could he have set himself up to be a hero? Could not necessarily to get the internet fame, but like, did he have some sort of vigilante style idea of himself that he was he looking for these opportunities? Because in that video, the what was his name?
McBride?
No, the interviewer. Anyway.
Oh, Jessup.
Yeah, he did tell him that he once saved a woman from abuse.
Yes.
So he was kind of proud of that. Like, because Jessup had asked him, like, has something like this ever happened to you before? And he's like, well, I did. I saw him beating on this, so I went and I beat him. He beat this guy down. And he was proud of it. So this isn't the first time this has happened. And then, he said there was speculation that he was out there searching for pedophiles.
Yes.
And
he did claim that Galfi raped him the night before that he was murdered.
Right. He was, they were speculating that when he was murdered, Joe Galfi, and somehow maybe he thought that this was an act of not just self-defense, but an act of justice. Like, was there? Yeah. Do you guys think that there's any chance that Kai's accusations against Galfi were true at all?
Oh, absolutely.
And that Galfi drugged and assaulted him, and that he was acting out of self-defense? The video in the train station sure as shit didn't make it seem like that testimony was real. But when I'm watching that, there's too many things lining up that you're always in the spot where you're having to do what's right. So,
you're having to be the hero.
Be the hero. So are you hoping, that you're going to find a kid who's locked in a cage that you can let out? Is that your hero's journey? Is that your, the story we all we all watch the movies about the guy who was down on his luck and he ends up going out and becoming a vigilante and, saving a bunch of people from whatever and not getting any consequences for it. Thoughts on that? Do you think that's feasible, Matt?
I mean, it's absolutely feasible. I mean, you look at his history, his claims of his past abuse, and that could in itself could make somebody want to be some sort of vigilante against other people doing it. On the other side, if he is doing these illicit drugs, that could also be part of his
delusions.
Delusions.
Yeah.
It's difficult to say, and with the as many unprovable things in this story, I mean, it's hard to say exactly what really happened with this guy.
For sure.
I mean, there's going to be so many things that we can't prove.
Right. There's Kai's side, there's Joe's side, and there's the truth.
Because I mean,
we can't know Joe's side ever.
Even if he was abused and his mom was abusing him, his integrity is out the window.
Oh, it doesn't justify any of the actions.
Right.
Are you justified to defend a defenseless person against someone who's being harmed? Yes. At least to my knowledge of my local law, yes, I am authorized to potentially use deadly force to stop somebody from life or from something, death, loss of limb, or, rape or kidnapping, right? I could use deadly force to do that. So using a hatchet on someone's head is potential deadly force, right? So I don't know what the laws are in whatever state they were in, but I've got to imagine it's somewhere in the same realm as it is where I live. So, that is one thing. But if you're setting up those scenarios, i.e., did you give him weed that was laced with something and, not necessarily to make him do something like that, but again, I didn't take notes during this, so I'm trying to remember, did McBride make claims that Kai was telling him to run into people? Wasn't there something in there about, like,
I think,
am I misremembering?
So kind of sort of. McBride never claimed it, but it was the band member that had said Kai had told him that he suggested to McBride that he should run into them.
He said, "You'll go right through him, bro." Like, or it was something like that. It's like you'll go right through him if you like whatever. And then McBride did it. Is what the band member said through Kai is what Kai said, and it's like this whole chain of loss in communication that you can't.
Did we ever hear from McBride? Did we ever like? No. I know we saw him because he was still alive.
Yep, we just saw his sentence at the end. I think is the only update really we got about him.
James, are you sleeping?
Nope.
He's processing.
He's meditating.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about this. I was just thinking about it because,
there's something about...
This guy didn't really care about a lot of things that we would normally care about. True. And maybe something triggered him. And when it did happen, it was something that brung him back, snapped him something else. Because after it, he still didn't understand the severity of what happened. You just don't give $500 away because you peed on somebody's sign. You just don't,
what a great apology,
I'm going to spend this crayon to see if I want to go smoke weed or do I want to go to the Kardashians. I'd rather go smoke some weed. Well, we just give you a whole... See, and that's another whole thing.
A limo full of weed.
They don't care about the person. They just want that fame. Just get them on. Let's open it up. We're going to give you a limo full of weed.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother story.
That's a whole other ballgame.
We all know the media and all the TV, they don't care if they're exploiting you. If it gets you ratings and good views, I mean, that's...
And I hope they learned their lesson after that
they
one.
Didn't. There's no way.
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't.
They didn't.
They offered me a limo. Let me put it that way.
James, you should have a reality TV show.
I probably should have.
You probably should.
So what about that cult of, since we went, into that a little bit, what about that cult of internet fame or reality TV fame? Do you guys think that and this could lead us down a rabbit hole potentially, but
Probably.
But
Likely.
does the media have a responsibility to vet people before they put them on a pedestal, or is that sort of a free?
It's a dicey question there, Jeff.
Yep, that's why
it's
I
a
asked
legitimate question, but
It
I
is.
think the answer to that is no. They're not responsible.
Right.
I mean,
agree.
In an ideal world, they should,
Yeah.
and we would want
mean,
them to. But what's reality TV?
most of the time, these people are brought there because there's something interesting about them.
Right. Ratings.
And ratings.
Views.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't
mention
think we'd
that
have a
in
lot
video.
of. I don't think we'd have a lot of reality TV stars if they were properly vetted,
Right.
because part of it is the scandal that comes with celebrity, and
Mm-hmm.
it's the scandal that comes with people being unhinged, or like, you know, Britney Spears
interesting
shaving
to
her
watch.
head, like
Right.
that obviously has some mental health thing. Like that
Right.
was like a drop in the ocean compared to a murder. So it's
Exactly.
like that's like the part that gets the ratings and how the media makes their monies and stays on top is because they're
Right.
not vetted.
I do. So, okay. So when you're not vetted, so to me, that's sort of like, okay, so you have a 15-minute interview with somebody and then you hire them for a job, right?
Yes.
You don't really know who someone is in that 15-minute interview. You're just getting what they've, presented to you.
Right.
And, in some ways, that's kind of all you can do with, your next celebrity star that you're responsible to make a show and make it interesting. So you find this guy like Kai and you say, that's
Let's do it.
That's a interesting personality. This carefree kid who's homeless and he's a nomad and he's telling people that you're loved. And he's kind of unhinged, but can he really be that unhinged? So, that's his interview. His interview was his interview on the news show. So I agree with you that vetting isn't necessarily something that's the responsibility of those people. At work we might do like a background check, but that's for one reason or another. But for entertainment, maybe that's not the same. It doesn't have the same importance. However, what I think is a little fucked up and a little bit, something that I think the media and the corporations and whatnot should have a little more responsibility in is once that person is quote unquote under your, I don't want to say control, but under the umbrella
Contract,
of
under your contract.
Yeah. If you're telling this guy, we'll get you a whole limo full of weed and alcohol and whatever you want, like,
Don't you think that's a little bit of enabling?
Yeah, well,
just like
that's
a little
kinda,
bit.
That's
If you've
kinda
got
what
all
I
the money
mean.
and the power and the resources, and you're going to sign this guy's life away, shouldn't there be resources in place to make sure that he
Right, and when
can
he
continue doing the job
Yes.
for you?
And when he tailspins out to
Right.
the point where he's, dying in a gutter, he's murdering somebody, whatever it may be, whether we're talking about Kai or whether we're talking about, a reality TV flash in the pan, or whatever, there should be some checks and balances as to what you're willing to provide. If you're throwing unlimited amounts of money at these people to continue getting crazier and crazier and crazier because that's what's getting people to watch it, and you're putting them in danger, and you're suggesting, people have free will to say no, but James even said you don't just give away $500.
Right.
Well, you don't just give away $500.
Right.
I don't just give away $500, but somebody might give away $500 if they know that there's so much more coming.
Right.
And it's an
Right.
unlimited amount of, so you're I think if I were to guess, Kai's reasoning for giving that $500 away was to say, you can't buy me.
Yeah.
I don't care about that. I want to be above that, and I want to just go smoke weed with my friends and surf. To me, that was almost enviable. Like him going, I don't care about your fame and glory and all that. Unfortunately, he went in another direction and became unhinged for other reasons. But like, I do think that this is a true look into what the media and the culture of entertainment will do to try to get somebody to be their next big thing, and how little they care
because
about
they
that
can find the
person.
next one,
Right?
On and on and on, and
I
then
don't
all the
care what happens
yeah.
to you. I just want you to get me some ratings
Yes.
until you don't anymore.
Right, because those ratings are going to come and go so quickly because it's always the next thing that's like hot and popular. It just keeps on going. And that's why, all these celebrities burn out. They go to rehab. They spiral is because it's like crazy party, money, sex, drugs, alcohol, all this stuff. And then if they go off the rails and are dropped by their producer, like everything is horrible for them. The producer just moves on.
Right.
Like you just go on to the next one.
Yeah.
Right. I work with a lot of homeless people about maybe 5-6 years back. And I discovered that a lot of homeless people, they choose to be homeless and they like it. For the same reasons as Kai.
Yeah.
Maybe not so flamboyant, but
Right.
they're tired. They're just tired of all the bills, tired of everything, and they just want to live that carefree life. They don't have a problem. They got a lot of help out there from a lot of different organizations and everything, and they like it and they enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, I don't look down on the homeless.
No.
It's kind of sad, but I also know that some people choose that life.
It's sad if it's not if it's something that was brought upon you because of some sort of basically an unwanted thing.
Right.
If you can't get yourself out of a hole and you're struggling in that way, it's very sad.
Right.
But again, if that's your choice, it's just like if
you dug the hole and you were holding the shovel,
well, and you
or
wanted
if someone
that
else
hole,
dug the hole and pushed you into it.
Right.
Like,
Okay. So I did a little bit of reading, which is, super deep dive into one Wikipedia page.
oh my God, you're such a researcher.
I know.
And an academic.
Yep. Peer reviewed and everything. So
Professor Jeff.
Kai was imprisoned for over 5 years while he was awaiting trial. The trial began in April of 2019. When Kai took the stand, believe it or not, he was very combative. And he even had an outburst during his own defense lawyer's closing arguments.
Oh my God, I need to look this up.
Yeah, which almost caused him to be removed from the courtroom. After all of that, a jury did find him guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced him to 57 years in prison, to which he will have to serve 43 and a half years before he's eligible for parole, to which the judge then told him, quote, "When you become eligible for parole, you will still be younger than Mr. Galfi when you murdered him." Kai has since appealed the conviction, alleging 15 instances of misconduct, abuse of discretion, and ineffectiveness of defense counsel, but the murder conviction was upheld in the New Jersey court. Kai, with regard to this film, this documentary, Kai claims that Netflix and the filmmakers exploited him for profit by making this documentary that we are talking about today. Kai is currently housed in the New Jersey State Prison system. So that's kind of where he's at right now. To sort of backtrack just a little bit, I wanted to go back and talk about his mom one last time, because I wanted to point out that one of the things she said about writing him was she only said she was going to contact him if he wanted her to which he said, "I do not want you to." In my mind, that points to a type of relationship that is probably a lot more along the lines of the way Kai remembers it and less along the lines of the way she remembers it. Because I feel like no matter what was said to me from my daughters, if they did something horrible and were locked away, there would be nothing stopping me from visiting, from writing, from calling as much as I could.
Right.
That was the normal. That's
and
normal.
I know that, for example, like when I was in the Navy and was away from my family, my mom wrote me almost at least once a week, if not more. So, and obviously she and I had a great relationship. It wasn't like there was that darkness there. But, James, I know you've had communication with your family who's been incarcerated and
still is incarcerated. My son.
Right. I wasn't going to put that out there, but if you want to talk about it, go for it.
I'll just say my son's incarcerated, and he had mind-altering drugs and stuff in him.
And you guys have a little bit of some dark history too.
Yeah, I have a little bad history with my own son, but today I talk to him every time he calls. I answer phone call.
Right.
Send him money. Because he's still my son.
Exactly.
That's the main point.
Then that's exactly what my point.
That's still Kai's mom, and he does not want anything to do with her.
But even if my girls did not want anything to do with me, I can't
just say okay.
I can't just say okay, you know. And now, to be fair, depending on the situation, you know, I do believe that as an adult, you know, child, then you should be able to set some boundaries and things like that. But there would be nothing stopping me from wanting to make sure that if my action, but if I knew that I did something horrible to them when they were young, I could see doing what she did and being okay with not doing that. Yep. I did something to you, so I understand. If I did not understand, no matter what, that I did some, I think you guys get what I'm saying. Hopefully our listeners do too. But it sort of almost to me admits in some sort of way that maybe you understand that you did something that was worth them breaking that tie, which in that case, she should leave him alone.
Right.
I hope that, there's instances in my family dynamic that, ties were broken with a parental figure. And I do not want that person to reach out to my family member. I know I'm being very vague right now, but because I don't think that, because there was some horrible things that happened in the past that she should give that, space. So anyway, with that being said, I do think that her leaving Kai alone is probably for a reason. And I hope that she continues to give him that space because he clearly wanted it from her.
Right.
Right. Whatever he did to run away from, he made it sound like it was mostly because of her and anything that she brought into his life. So leave him the fuck alone.
Yep.
You heard what he said about his Mother's Day what he sent her.
Remind me.
I can't remember, but it bested me F you at the end.
Yeah.
At the end of it, F you for all the stuff you did to me. You did this, you did that, you locked me in a room. And I believe that's the things he was saying. He's reaching out to his mother to still tell her that, look, F you.
Yeah.
Because you messed me up. That's what I give. That's the love I get for you, for the love that you gave me.
Right.
I'm giving it right back to you.
Yeah.
My son, when he acted fool clown, and I had to tell him off, and he was tripping and acting fool, and then he ended up going to jail. And he called me every time he called me. First thing he says after every phone call ends, I love you. Every single time.
Yep.
Because he know me. Yep. And he know I didn't do no wrong. Well, I probably did a little bit of wrong,
Right.
Hey.
Not everyone's a perfect parent. There's no such thing as perfect.
You're human.
I could have kicked him in the neck a couple of times. No, I didn't. I didn't do that. I didn't kick him in the neck. I'm just kidding you guys. Yeah, but I loved him and he loved me back. You just love your kids,
right?
No matter what.
And kids are gonna fuck up, just
for sure.
Just like parents are gonna fuck up,
right?
And but you're able to maintain that love there, and the fact that in this documentary and in their situation, the fact that she's willing to let that bond break and that he wants it to break so bad tells me that something fucked up has happened.
Right, because that's an instinctual bond that your psyche has to break your natural instinct and want to be in contact with and love and care for and express that to your child. And you have to have the mind state and to make that conscious decision to be like, nope, never mind. That's hard.
Be gone with you, and I never want to see you again.
Farewell.
She had issues. To let him go at the age of 13, she had issues.
Definitely. I agree with that. Okay. Was this a well-made documentary, do you guys think?
I think so. I really liked it, but also I love true crime stuff, so I just was captivated by the story, so I could not even tell you if it was well done because I'm just very excited about it.
Matt,
I mean, so. I mean, it's not the best documentary in the world, and it's not the worst documentary in the world.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with Molly as well. I think that the
way it was told was very compelling.
Yeah, that was a compelling story.
That's what made it a good
overall,
documentary.
I think it was an okay quality documentary. When I step back and sort of look at, the footage was good, the image quality and sound was fine.
Right.
There was some ominous music throughout the whole thing, which sometimes can be a little corny. I think in this case it did help set the mood. And, if I'm getting into the psychology of filmmaking and film watching, there's probably some subliminal messaging that comes along with depending
music
on what
cues,
type of the music they put in. It's the same kind of thing, depending on what kind of music you play in a restaurant, is it going to make you want to hang out longer? That sort of thing. Like it'd be interesting to watch this again and go back when his mom was talking, what kind of music were they playing?
Right.
Like the reason that we all felt weird about her, did that have anything to do with the way they filmed it and the way that they produced it? Like, I don't know. We'd have to go back and
while we're talking about that, why was that band member filmed from the passenger side of a car?
Oh, I was just sitting in his car.
When that came up, I was like, why did they do that? And he was telling a really like he was traumatized by this experience.
Right, and see, that's the whole thing again.
It was so dumb. I was like, why did they do that? All the rest of these people are in their living rooms or office settings.
I wonder.
It was so weird.
I noticed that too.
I'm sure there's a reason for it. I just don't get it.
I just think it was an artistic an attempt at an artistic sort of.
I feel like they should have had him sitting on the edge of a stage or something, because he's in a band.
Well, that's the whole thing.
Car,
Kai made people famous.
True.
He made the guy that did the first guy that did the interview was just a little guy, and he just happened to do the interview because they asked him because they had nobody else to do it.
He was a sports guy,
right? So when he did that made him. And then the guy with the what's it called? What's it called? The Doors. Is that what it's called? The Red Doors or Red Coats?
The Red Coats.
The Red Coats.
Yes.
Doors.
Like the Doors. Holy shit!
I know. I was
Doors is a good band.
Yeah.
The Red Coats. The Red Coats. He's advertising. He's sitting in a nice old school
van.
I mean, what that got to do with anything? Come on now.
Yep.
Also, I know none of you guys are attracted to men, but Jessup had such a glow up from his initial sportsman thing and initial interview with Kai, and then when they were doing his interviews, I was like, okay, all right, Jessup.
Yeah, he did a little swimming
pool. He had a glow up. He got
that's another one. They showed his house swimming and stuff.
Wine.
Fine wine, swimming and everything. I'm talking about Kai. Yeah, I'm talking about Kai. I'm being my van, my nice van.
My nice van.
Yeah. Kai had a little bit of a, if you want to call it a glow up with his face tattoo that was very, very poorly done. By the way,
glowed down with the face tat, the shaved head, and the
I don't know, I feel weird about the face tats. I be thinking that everybody that I know,
it was intense.
They got a face tat. Usually do something crazy.
Yeah.
That guy no more.
Nico Jenkins?
Yeah, Jenkins.
Yeah.
Face tattoo. Yeah,
I don't even think most tattoo shops will do face tats on you anymore unless you're fully covered, head to toe.
I was going to say, I can't say the same thing because I know a lot of people with face tattoos, and a lot of them are really great people.
Right, right.
But most of them, like you said, are very heavily
I think a lot of
tattooed,
people say no to neck and face unless it's you're already very heavily tattooed.
Case by case thing with a respectable tattooer.
Yeah,
anyway.
Jeff, if you walked into a tattoo parlor and were like, "Hey, I want a face tat," they'd probably be like, "All right, sounds good," because you're tattooed from toes to fingertips.
There's no room left.
There ain't no room left anywhere else. Put it on my neck.
Hawaiians can get their face tattooed. Nobody got issue. It's a culture thing.
If Matt walked in and wanted a face tattoo, though, someone would probably think that he was about to commit a crime or already had.
That's true.
All right. So,
are you unhinged? Are you okay?
Let's get back to this, ladies and gentlemen. So, how did this documentary make us feel? Molly, let's start with you.
Shock, awe. His tweets were insane, and we didn't even talk about them.
No, we didn't. We can talk about them if you want.
They were nuts. I also like there was a lot of guilt. And a lot of
guilt on yours. Like you felt guilty.
Yeah, like I felt bad for him, and like I felt
so like secondhand guilt.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I felt bad for him. I felt bad for the situation. I felt bad for Joe Galfi. I felt bad. Like it was just like a lot of like, oh, that's sad.
Yeah,
like
this sucks
in so many different ways and different lights, and like the talking about like the media and getting those people's perspectives on a reality TV show star that was
Right.
up and coming made me sad. And I was just like, oh
Right.
God, this world
you really,
sucks.
You really see them like that?
Yeah,
Like that's fucked
like
up.
happy and homeless. I was like, ugh, gross.
Right.
Like I just wanted to like crawl out of my skin a little bit. So it was
Yeah.
like, it was a lot of emotions, truthfully.
While you were saying that, it made me think of like, I want to be real clear, at least from my microphone, that like the main tragedy in this whole situation was what happened to Joe Galfi.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, we've talked a lot about Kai because he was obviously the focal point of this documentary, but and we got to see some of his backstory. We didn't see a lot about Joe's, but the true victim here is Joe Galfi.
Right.
With a caveat that if something really terrible did happen in that house, that if Kai's accusations were true, but I don't think there was any proof that that was the case. So with, you know, if Talkumentary is following the innocent until proven guilty model,
Right.
then he was not proven guilty of any of that behavior. So for that case, we would assume that he was innocent of those things.
It's a loss of life of an innocent human being.
Innocent human being.
Yes.
By somebody who was severely damaged and
Yes.
severely unhinged, to say, for lack of a better term. So, you know, just to be very clear from this room, we're not sympathizing with the
A
crime.
murderer. Yeah, we're
with
not sympathizing
the
with
crime
a
that was
murderer.
done. Yeah, and he needs to be off the streets
Right.
forever.
Right.
You know, because of that. So I just wanted to make sure, you know, like if anyone's listening to this going like, wow, these sound like they're sympathizing with the murderer.
Right.
No, we're just talking about his story and maybe sympathizing with some of his reasons for being as in pain as he was.
Yes.
But that behavior, no matter what, when you reach a certain age and a certain, you know, you are responsible for your behaviors
Absolutely.
regardless of what you've gone through. So he does need to be held responsible for those things. And I'm glad he got caught. I'm glad he's in prison.
Yes.
I'm glad his appeals are getting denied.
Yes.
Because he deserves those things. Now, that doesn't mean that I can't feel some sort of sympathy for his upbringing and his backstory and what led him to those things. I wish he had gotten the help. I wish he was shown support and love
Yes.
and assistance throughout his life, or that he would have accepted those things if people did try to give him those. So for
and
some clarification.
Us on Talkumentary can sympathize with his trauma.
Yeah.
And feel bad for the childhood that he did have and his upbringing and all the circumstances that launched him into the place in life that it did. But we absolutely do not sympathize with behaviors with Joe Galfi or anything else. Even with McBride, who got smacked over the head with a hatchet. Like,
right.
He committed a crime,
Yep.
and you know it wasn't a loss of life for anyone that day, thankfully.
Yep.
But with Kai specifically, like we can sympathize with the traumas that he was put through, but he's still legally
A
and
murderer.
morally responsible
Right.
for his actions. And
Yep.
having that sort of trauma does not inherently make you a murderer, because there are a lot
No.
of people who go through things just like that, like all of the things that he was claiming, that do not do that with their life. So,
Right.
or
And-
have mental illness or have ADHD or anything like that,
Yep.
that do not take those actions.
Right. Yep. Agreed.
100%.
Ultimately, Kai is
100%.
responsible for Kai's actions, and I believe that was one thing that was said in the documentary as well.
Yes.
People still have a responsibility to get the help that they need. People still have to answer for the things they do, both the good and the bad. The hope is that they have a support system around them. People that love them and are willing to do those things, but the person is willing to accept it. Like I said, put in the work, get better, see themselves, you know, as someone who's worthy of good things. you know, I feel when we talk about how did we feel after the documentary ended, to me, I feel bad for Kai. If any part of his backstory is true, like we've said, that is a rough go. And I hope that he reaches out for and accepts some sort of help, mental help, rehabilitation. You know, we did the documentary episode about the documentary called The Work. Maybe a program like that. I mean, Molly, you were part of that episode. I can see Kai sitting in a room
100%.
with what were their names, with Vegas and Dark Cloud
Yes.
and them.
Dark Cloud would eat him alive. I would
know,
love
like,
it.
I want to see an episode where Kai goes to that. What were the guys' names? The Zimbabwe guys. Anyway,
so good.
Yeah. Check out our shameless plug. Check out our episode on The Work if you haven't yet. It's a really powerful one.
There's a lot of humming.
Yeah. Yep. But anyway, so I hope that Kai does that for himself. But he does need to stay in there. I mean, that was a crime
100%.
that he committed that needs to stay in there. Matt, feelings?
You know, sadness, just because. You know, I've seen a lot of people go through trauma and deal with their trauma by doing drugs and alcohol, and that's sad to me.
It's a quick solution to a really deep problem.
It's a quick and it's dangerous.
Yes.
You know, I've seen a lot of people, you know, knowing their histories and seeing them do the alcohol and the drugs and just see how violent and toxic they could be to everybody
So
around them when
bad.
they're under the influence. So. It was a sad feeling. It was very sad.
Yeah. James, talk about your feelings, big dog. Big brother.
J-Dog.
Yeah, straight out of Omaha.
Straight out of Dogtown.
Yeah, Dogtown.
I just want to
Omaha.
surf and smoke weed, bro.
Yeah. I can surf. You guys, no, I don't swim, so I don't smoke weed either. So I guess I just watch. No.
Okay, you're gonna
Just
sit on
be
the.
from Dogtown.
I sat on the beach and fish.
There you go.
There you go. But yeah, this documentary was it was interesting. It showed a lot of different things, a lot of things that what you should have done, what you could have done, makes you feel like, man, I wish I could help that dude. I wish I could have said something to him. And then at the end of the documentary, like, wow, you can see that coming.
Yeah.
You can see that coming.
Yeah. If you were to have the checklist of what makes a murderer,
Right.
You know, he does check a lot of those boxes,
Yes.
and so do a lot of people that did not commit murder.
Right.
But if you're, you know,
It is a certain psyche that you do kind of have to have in order to amp up to that level.
especially in that type of a murder,
Right.
You know, like it's not like. Anyway,
Yeah, he was literally speaking out for help, if you ask me. 'Cause every little thing that he said that was crazy, and everybody like, well, that was odd. And then they're like, oh, and then he went right back to the same thing. And like, well, hold on, wait, address
It's
it
just,
all.
I will say, it's just hard with people that are that, you know, they're stuck in a mindset that I just want to be not tied down to anything. I don't want to accept help.
Yep.
I don't want to be a part of a group. I don't want to be, you know, unless it's the group that I chose. I don't want to admit that I am dealing with something in an unhealthy way, because that makes me a normie or a, you know, like I'm needing something that, you know, I don't feel like I should need. All right. So with all that, let's get into the ratings, or should I say the official documentary ratings. I know that someday in the future, someone will make a futuristic podcast, whatever they call them, space cast or something like that, where they're doing reviews of old vintage podcasts, and they're gonna
rate
go,
our podcast.
Yeah, they're gonna look at this and go, so they gave this old documentary an official documentary rating. So this is going to be the gold standard of ratings for all things. So
I want this to be on the same level as the tomato meter. I really do.
So yeah, we're going to be the new
documentary
Rotten Tomatoes.
It's basically the same amount of critic and rhetoric. There's a lot of studying that's gone into this.
Yep. So the documentary rating right next to Rotten Tomatoes. basically every week, each crew member scores the documentary on a scale of 1 to 10 items, with 1 being as bad as a hatchet to the dome piece, and 10 being as great as a free surfboard and wetsuit from Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel, I forgot that he
Yeah.
was on that. So funny.
The item that is used for scoring changes each week depending on the content of the documentary that we watched. This week we will be using Smash, Smash, Smashes as our rating item. Let's start with Molly, since you were the dealer. What did you rate this hatchet wielding documentary and why?
I gave it 8. I think we know that I enjoyed this documentary a lot from my comments about this. It was very captivating, and I love being stereotypically white woman and liking true crime.
True crime wielding.
Yes, true crime
White
wielding.
women like true crime, or what?
Yeah,
I can't get past this. I'm a white woman. I like true crime.
It's like a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a thing.
White women like true crime.
Yes.
James.
Do they?
Yeah.
Yes, it's a thing, and
Well, then,
unfortunately, I am
I have to
partaking
put
in
it
it.
out there. What do black women like? True crime too?
You tell me.
Listen.
Yeah,
I don't
you
know.
tell us.
I'm not a black woman. You know what I'm saying?
Neither is
You know,
anyone else in this room.
None of us in this room are.
Okay, I guess no one can talk on that.
Nope.
They probably all like King James. You know what I'm saying?
Technically, you are single.
Oh my God.
Black,
Pick James up.
black women or white women out there, if you're single and you're into
King James.
dark chocolate men with nice beards and a
Truly.
steady job,
Yes.
email info.talkumentary@gmail.com and I will send you his way.
Please send your
ma-
resume
make sure
along
you
with
got
so
a
we can
job
vet you
yourself.
properly.
Yeah, we will vet them for you, James, before
Yes.
we send them through.
That's right. Make sure they got a job themselves, because I am not paying for everything.
Yeah,
It's
send your resumes over to info.
2023.
Yeah. Okay, King James, how many smashes?
I gave this 7.
Okay.
7
Why?
rat smashes. Smash. So smash.
So
Smash.
So smash.
So
Something like
mash.
that.
Tell me why.
I gave it 7 because it opened up a lot of doors again. You know, I sometimes get into that. I like that mental thing, you know.
The mental mind.
Not the mental mind. We're not going there anymore. The mind. I like the way the mind thinks.
Yeah.
You know, and I like to see that, and sometimes I want to help, but it was very interesting and shocking at the end, and I like it. You know, that's why I gave it 7.
Okay. Maddie Boombalatti, how many smash?
I gave it 6 smashes.
Just
Okay.
smashes.
You know, seen better documentaries, seen worse documentaries. What brought it up for me was that he was a hero in the beginning. I try to look at all the positive in things.
Right.
But I can't ignore the shitty part of what he's done.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So I'm right there with you, Matt. I gave this a 6 as well. You know, I didn't dislike this documentary by any, you know, I just walked away from this one feeling sad for everyone involved. You know, and if there are documentaries out there that I've enjoyed more? Yep. Is there ones that I thought were way worse than this? Yep. And, you know, so this rates a little bit above halfway point for me, just like it did for you, Maddie. So with that being said, after averaging everyone's scores, the official documentary rating for the Hatchet Wielding Hitchhiker is 6.75 smashes. So what's 6.75? Smash. I'm
more like sandwich, but no, I'm kind of hungry.
Sandwich. So
ShamWow?
I'm going to thank everybody that listened. Thanks everybody for being here and talking to me.
Thanks,
As
Jeff.
always, Molly, King James, Mr. Matt, thanks for your friendship and your conversation. I want you all to know that I have a bathroom upstairs, so please don't pee on my house on the way out. You will.
I will give you $500 if I do.
I will clean up your pee for $500 if you got that.
Oh, boy.
Listen.
Lord have mercy.
If you got
Do you
$500,
take Venmo?
right? Yes.
Yes, I do.
Let's talk about what we're going to watch next week.
What are we going to watch next week?
For next week, we will be hesitantly swallowing a documentary that explores a widely prescribed anti-anxiety medication that is a cure for some and a deadly curse for others. We are covering the 2022 documentary titled Take Your Pills, about Xanax. Take the pills, Xanax.
That's going to be wild.
Have you guys seen this one yet?
Nope. I heard about it, but I haven't seen it.
No,
Molly?
but I'm very excited about it.
Me too.
I think this was your pick, was it
It
not?
is,
You
yeah.
got 2 in a row, girl.
I'm doped up on anxiety medicine, so I was like, gotta learn about Xanax. I'm not
Yeah.
on Xanax, but God, would I like to be. It sounds like it would be so zen.
Yeah, so
Well,
I do know that
50-50.
that Xanax is as popular as it is for a reason, and it is very addictive. And
Yeah, I think people use it as a recreational as much as a medicinal.
yeah, and even when they do use it, anyway, I think we'll get into that. I think this is going to be an interesting one. We will be diving into that next week.
Back to back.
Yeah, everyone go out and check out this documentary, Take Your Pills, Xanax. Before next week's episode, it can be streamed on Netflix. Join us as we examine the effectiveness and the addictiveness of a powerful medication, one documentary at a time. Go out and rate and review our podcast on your favorite podcast streaming service. Let us know what you think of our show. If you want to connect to us or give James your phone number or anything like that, look for @Talkumentary Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or shoot us that email at info.talkumentary@gmail.com. On behalf of Molly,
Hey.
King James, Maddie,
be a good human,
and DJ in that post-production booth, and the rest of our whole damn family
And all of Dogtown.
and all of Dogtown. I am your host, Coco O'Hearn. I want to
It's never not going to get me.
thank you all for listening. I hope you keep those minds open and be kind to each other. Oh, and Kai, the Hatchet Wielding Hitchhiker, did a lot of wrong, but one of the first things he ever said to the whole world, the thing that made him so endearing in the first place, holds so very true, and I think it bears repeating. So I'm going to send us off with this. Even if you make mistakes, you're lovable. It doesn't matter your looks, skills, age, size, or anything, you're worthwhile. And no one can ever take that away from you. Hope you keep your minds open and be kind to each other. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Later. Later, players.
Later, players.
Later. Hey, dude. I fucking went over there and fucking get him in the head. It's that.
Smash,
Smash that sucker. So.